In 1921, a hamburger cost a nickel and came from a diner your town knew by name. No golden arches. Every region cooked its own burger its own way. Number 14 stretched a nickel's worth of meat through the Great Depression. Number 3 was born on a county fairground in 1885. Number 9 hides molten cheese that has burned 1,000 tongues. Then the chains came and flattened them all. Hit subscribe and let us count down 25 forgotten regional burgers Americans ate before chains took over. Number 25, Nut Burger. Long before anyone had heard of a drive-thru, roadside stands along the California coast were serving a burger topped with a fistful of chopped, toasted nuts. In the 1920s and the 1930s, a cook would griddle a beef patty, then spread the bun with a sweet, tangy mayonnaise dressing and press a heap of roasted peanuts or walnuts right into it. The nuts toasted a little more against the hot meat, turning buttery and fragrant, and every bite gave you that strange, wonderful crunch against the soft beef. A nut burger cost about a dime at a coast highway shack, served in wax paper to travelers heading up Route 1. The dressing was the secret. Slightly sweet, slightly sharp, it made the nuts taste almost like candy against the salt of the meat. People thought it was outrageous the first time. Then they ordered a second one. It was the kind of burger you drove out of your way for, and today almost nobody remembers it existed. Number 24, the Goober Burger. In Sedalia, Missouri, right down the road from the state fairgrounds, a little drive-in called the Wheel Inn opened in 1947 and served something that made first-timers wince, a hamburger topped with peanut butter. They called it the Goober Burger, from goober, the old country word for a peanut. The cook would griddle the patty, then slather warm, creamy peanut butter across it so it half melted into the meat, and finish it with mayonnaise, lettuce, and tomato on a soft white bun. The heat turned the peanut butter into something rich and saucy, almost like a savory sauté, and the salt of the beef cut right through it. Missouri families pulled off Highway 50 for these for nearly 60 years. The Wheel Inn finally closed for good in 2013, and the Goober Burger became a local legend more people talk about than taste. But anyone who grew up in Sedalia will tell you, do not knock it until that second bite. Number 23, the Olive Burger. Up in Lansing, Michigan, back in the 1920s, a lunch counter called QP started topping burgers with chopped green olives folded into mayonnaise, and a regional obsession was born. The dressing went on thick, briny, and creamy, the little flecks of pimento-stuffed olives scattered all through it, and it dripped down the sides of the patty into the bun. It sounds simple. It is not. That salty, vinegary punch against a griddled beef patty and a slice of melting cheese hits a note that a plain cheeseburger never reaches. Auto workers in Lansing and Flint ate these by the thousands on lunch breaks, and Michigan diners guarded their olive mayo recipes like family secrets. It cost pennies more than a regular burger because olives were cheap and a jar lasted. Outside of mid-Michigan, most Americans have never even heard of it. Inside mid-Michigan, ordering a cheeseburger without olive dressing still gets you a funny look. Number 22, the chili size. In Los Angeles in the 1920s, a spot called Tomaine Tommy's served a burger so smothered it needed a fork. A cook would lay a griddled patty open-faced on a plate, then ladle a thick blanket of chili con carne right over the top of it, sometimes with a scoop of beans and a shower of raw onion. The name came from the way Tommy took orders. A bowl of chili was one thing, but chili poured over a hamburger was hamburger size, and the shorthand stuck, chili size. It was hot, messy, and filling enough to hold a working man through a double shift for about 15 cents. The chili soaked into the meat and pooled on the plate, and you mopped up every bit with the bun. This was Southern California comfort food decades before anyone slapped it on a franchise menu. and the open-faced chili burger has almost completely vanished from the American table. Number 21. The hot hamburger plate. In diners across the Midwest and New England, when a man came in off a cold shift and wanted something that would stick to his ribs, the cook made him a hot hamburger, a griddled patty laid open-faced on 2 slices of soft white bread, a mountain of mashed potatoes beside it, and the whole plate drowned in brown gravy. You ate it with a fork and knife because there was no picking it up. The gravy soaked the bread until it went soft as pudding, and every bite carried beef, potato, and that rich, savory sauce all at once. It cost about 35 cents in the 1950s, and it fed you like a Sunday dinner on a Tuesday. This was the burger of railroad towns and mill towns, of night shift counters, and roadside cafes. Then the drive-thru taught America that a burger should fit in one hand, and the hot hamburger plate quietly disappeared from all but the oldest diners. Number 20. The slaw burger. Down in the Carolinas, a burger was not dressed right unless it came all the way, and all the way meant coleslaw. A cook would griddle the patty, then pile it with a scoop of cool, tangy slaw, a spoon of chili, a squirt of yellow mustard, and a handful of diced raw onion. The slaw was the whole point. It added crunch, sweetness, and a cooling bite against the warm chili and the salty beef, and it stretched a small patty into something that ate big. This started as a depression trick, the same way onions and slaw stretched a hot dog, and it never left. Carolina families grew up thinking every burger came topped with slaw, and were genuinely shocked to learn the rest of the country ate them dry. A slaw burger cost almost nothing to build and tasted like a county fair. Outside the Carolinas, ordering slaw on your burger still makes people tilt their heads. Number 19. The pimento cheeseburger. In South Carolina, they call pimento cheese the caviar of the South, and the greatest thing they ever did with it was melt it onto a hamburger. A cook would griddle a patty, then crown it with a thick, cold scoop of pimento cheese, that magic mix of sharp cheddar mayonnaise and diced red pimento peppers, and let the heat of the meat turn it molten and gooey. It ran down over the sides, orange and rich and just a little spicy, and it soaked into the bun. At places like the old Rockaway Athletic Club in Columbia, people lined up for these. The cheese was already a Southern staple, spread on crackers and celery at every church social, so putting it on a burger felt like the most natural thing in the world. It cost a few cents more than a regular cheeseburger and tasted like home to anyone raised below the Mason-Dixon line. Most of America still has no idea what they are missing. First pattern break. Here is where the story gets interesting. There was never one American hamburger. There were hundreds. Every one of these burgers was born out of the same 2 forces that built this country: thrift and immigration. When beef was expensive, cooks stretched it with onions, with flour, with slaw, with anything cheap that filled a bun. When a new group of people arrived, they folded their own flavors into the meat. Peanut butter here, chorizo there, green chile out west. A burger in Milwaukee looked nothing like a burger in Miami, and both of them were proud of it. That regional map of the hamburger was one of the richest things about American food. And then, in the span of about 30 years, the chains rolled out one identical burger from Maine to California and told us that was what a hamburger was. We believed them. We forgot the rest. Number 18. The Theta burger. In Norman, Oklahoma, sometime in the 1930s, a man named Ralph Geist ran a spot called the Town Tavern near the University of Oklahoma, and he got tired of the sorority girls. The Sisters of Kappa Alpha Theta would call in enormous late-night orders. Every burger built a little differently, and it was driving him crazy. So he invented one burger they could all agree on and named it after them: the theta, a griddled patty topped with a mound of shredded cheddar instead of a plain slice, dill pickles, mayonnaise, and a dark, smoky spread called hickory sauce, often mistaken for barbecue sauce, but sharper and tangier. Crucially, no onions. It became the burger of Oklahoma, sold at joints all over Norman and Oklahoma City for generations. Ask for a theta anywhere else in America, and you will get a blank stare. But in Oklahoma, it is practically a birthright, and that hickory sauce is worth the trip. Number 17. The dough burger. Along the Texas backroads and up into North Mississippi, cooks face the same problem everyone faced in the hard years: not enough meat. Their answer was the dough burger, a patty cut with flour and water, or sometimes cornmeal, mixed right into the ground beef until it stretched to twice the size. The cook pressed it thin and fried it fast on a greasy, flat top until the edges went dark and lacy and crisp. What you got was a burger that was mostly beef flavor with a soft, almost creamy interior, served plain on a small bun with mustard, pickle, and onion. It cost a nickel when a real all-beef burger cost a dime, and for a family counting every cent, that difference put food on the table. Small-town Texas cafes still fry them for old-timers who grew up on them. They are humble, greasy, and completely honest about what they are, which is more than you can say for a lot of what replaced them. Number 16. The steamed cheeseburger. In central Connecticut, in the towns of Middletown and Meriden, they do something to a burger that horrifies the rest of America. They steam it. It started back in the early 1900s, when horse-drawn lunch carts served factory workers steamed cheese on a roll. Cheap and hot and filling when meat was too dear. When beef got affordable again, the cook simply added a beef patty to the steam box beside the cheese, and the steamed cheeseburger was born. The patty cooks in a stainless steel cabinet full of trays, no griddle, no sear, and a separate tray melts a gob of sharp cheddar into a molten pool that gets spooned right over the meat. It comes out impossibly tender and juicy, blander than a grilled burger, but drowning in that hot cheese. Ted's in Meriden has been steaming them since 1959. It is the only place in the country that eats a burger this way, and the locals would not trade it for anything. Number 15. The butter burger. Wisconsin runs on dairy, so of course, Wisconsin invented a burger built on butter. In 1936, a man named Kenneth Salmon, known to everyone as Solly, opened a little coffee shop in Milwaukee and started cooking sirloin patties and gilding them with an almost absurd amount of real Wisconsin butter. Not a pat, a slather. The burger came topped with sweet stewed onions and enough butter that it pooled in the bun and ran down your wrists. It was rich beyond reason, decadent in the way only Wisconsin could make a hamburger, and it turned that little diner into a Milwaukee institution that goes through well over 100 pounds of butter a week to this day. A butter burger was never meant to be healthy. It was meant to be joyful. Generations of Milwaukeeans grew up on them, sitting at horseshoe counters with a malt on the side. Outside the upper Midwest, most people have never had a burger cooked and crowned in real butter, and they have no idea what they are missing. Number 14. The slug burger. In Corinth, Mississippi in 1917, a man named John Weeks brought a hamburger recipe down from Chicago and started stretching his beef with potato flour and flour, then frying the small patties in hot oil until they were crisp. He sold them for a nickel, and since a nickel was slang for a slug, the burgers became slug burgers. Not one slug in them, despite the name. They came deep-fried and crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle, served plain on a little bun with mustard, dill pickle, and onion. During the Depression and the war years, when real beef was a luxury, the slug burger fed North Mississippi, West Tennessee, and North Alabama. It cost a nickel when nobody had a nickel to spare, and it worked. Corinth still throws a slug burger festival every summer, and cafes across the region still fry them the old way. It is Depression ingenuity. You can still order hot, and it is genuinely delicious. Second pattern break. Now here is what nobody in the fast food world wants you to sit and think about. Every burger on this list belonged to a place. You could not get a slug burger anywhere but North Mississippi. You could not get a butter burger outside Milwaukee. That was the whole point. The burger tasted like where you were. Then the chains figured out that sameness was more profitable than character. A franchise burger in Ohio had to taste identical to one in Arizona because that was the promise. No surprises, ever. They spent billions teaching Americans to want the exact same thing every single time. And it worked so well that we started to think of the regional burger as weird, as a novelty, as something you might try once for the story. We had it backwards. The identical burger is the strange one. The regional burger is the real thing. We just got trained out of remembering it. Number 13. The onion fried burger. Out in El Reno, Oklahoma, right where Route 66 crossed Highway 81, a man named Ross Davis ran the Hamburger Inn in the late 1920s, and he had the same problem as everyone else. Beef was dear, and onions were cheap. So Davis took a small ball of ground beef, buried it under a heap of paper-thin sliced onions, and smashed the whole thing flat into the hot griddle with the back of his spatula. The onions cooked right into the meat, caramelizing and crisping at the edges, and the burger looked twice as big as it was. They called them Depression burgers. Half an onion's worth of shreds pounded into a 5-cent patty, sweet and savory and sprawling. El Reno never let go of them. Sid's, Johnny's, and Roberts still smash them the same way, and the town throws a festival where the fire department fries an 800-pound onion burger. It was born of hard times, and it is one of the best burgers this country ever made. Number 12. The frita cubana. When Cuban families fled to Miami, they brought a burger with them that had been sizzling on Havana street carts since the 1930s, and it was like nothing on the American mainland. The frita cubana starts with a patty of beef mixed with chorizo, seasoned hard with paprika, cumin, and garlic, then smashed thin on a hot griddle until the edges crisp. It gets a swipe of a secret tomato-based sauce, a scatter of raw onion, and then the crown. A great tangled pile of crispy, shoestring potatoes right on top, tucked inside a soft Cuban roll. The fries in the burger, not beside it. It is spicy, greasy, crunchy, and built entirely for flavor over neatness. In Little Havana, spots like El Rey de las Fritas have been serving them since the 1970s. And for Miami's Cuban community, the frita is not a novelty. It is a taste of home. Most of America has still never had one. Number 11. The green chile cheeseburger. In New Mexico, they do not ask if you want green chile on your burger. They assume it. The green chile cheeseburger is a griddled patty smothered in roasted chopped hatch green chilies and blanketed with melting cheese. And the chilies bring a smoky, earthy heat that turns a plain cheeseburger into something unforgettable. One of the great origin claims belongs to the Owl Bar and Cafe in the tiny town of San Antonio, New Mexico, which fed the scientists and workers stationed near the Trinity Atomic Test Site in the 1940s. Those men needed feeding, and green chile was what New Mexico had. The burger became a state obsession. Its own official trail of chili burger stops running across New Mexico. The heat varies from a gentle warmth to a serious burn, depending on the year's crop and the cook's hand. Cross the state line in any direction, and it mostly disappears, which is New Mexico's loss to give and the rest of the country's loss to miss. Number 10. The loco moco. Over in Hilo, on the Big Island of Hawaii, a burger became a bowl. In 1949, a gang of hungry teenagers who called themselves the Lincoln Wreckers walked into the Lincoln Grill and asked the owners for something cheap, filling, and different from a sandwich. What they got was a scoop of white rice, a hamburger patty laid over the top, and the whole thing smothered in brown gravy, all for about a quarter. Somewhere along the way, a fried egg landed on top, yolk running down into the gravy, and the loco moco was complete. The kids named it after one of their own, nicknamed Crazy, tacking on moco just because it rhymed. It spread from that one grill across every island, and today you find it everywhere in Hawaii, from lunch counters to fancy restaurants dressing it up with lobster. But the original is still the best. Rice, patty, gravy, egg. It is the ultimate island comfort food, born from a burger and a bunch of broke teenagers. Number 9. The Juicy Lucy. In South Minneapolis, some genius decided the cheese belonged on the inside. The Juicy Lucy takes 2 thin patties, seals a slice of cheese between them, and crimps the edges shut so the cheese has nowhere to go. As it cooks, that trapped cheese melts into a molten core, and when you bite in, it comes pouring out like lava. You have to wait, or you will torch the roof of your mouth, and every regular knows it. 2 dive bars have fought over the invention for 70 years. Matt's Bar, which spells it Juicy Lucy with no I after a sign painter's mistake, says a customer asked for cheese in the middle back in 1954 and hollered that it was one Juicy Lucy. The 5-8 Club, an old prohibition speakeasy down the road, swears it got there first. Nobody will ever settle it, and Minneapolis likes it that way. Pick a side, wait for the cheese to cool, and burn your mouth anyway. Number 8. The patty melt. Out in California in the 1930s and 40s, a restaurateur named Tiny Naylor is often credited with a burger that lives halfway between a cheeseburger and a grilled cheese. The patty melt. Take a thin beef patty, pile it with sweet grilled onions and Swiss cheese, lay it between 2 slices of rye bread, and griddle the whole thing in butter like a sandwich until the bread is crisp and golden and the cheese oozes out the sides. No bun, no lettuce, no tomato, none of the usual burger dressing, just beef, onion, melted Swiss, and toasted rye. It became a diner and coffee shop staple across the country, the thing you ordered at 2 in the morning at a counter under fluorescent lights. It is still around, but it has been demoted to a menu afterthought. Quietly one of the most satisfying things a griddle can produce. If you have never had a proper patty melt on rye, you have a very good night ahead of you. Third pattern break. Here is the part the industry would rather you not dwell on. You cannot easily mass-produce most of the burgers on this list. A steamed cheeseburger needs a special cabinet. A frita needs a cook who knows the sauce. A green chile burger depends on a crop that comes in from one valley in New Mexico. These burgers resist standardization, and that is exactly why the chains left them behind. There was no national ad campaign coming for the slug burger, no franchise model for the olive burger, no way to trademark a grandmother's slaw. These foods belong to towns, not corporations, and towns do not have marketing budgets. So the burgers that could be scaled and sold won, and the burgers that could only be made won nothing but the loyalty of the people who grew up on them. That loyalty is the only reason any of them survive. Every one of them is one closed diner away from being gone. Number 7. The deep-fried burger. In Memphis, Tennessee, a place called Dyer's opened in 1912 and made a promise that sounds insane. They deep fry their burgers, not on a griddle but submerged in a skillet of hot grease. And legend holds they have strained and reused that same well of seasoned grease for more than a century. Every burger cooked adds a little more flavor to the pot, and every new burger fries in the accumulated soul of every burger before it. The patties come out with a deep, dark, crackling crust and an interior that stays impossibly juicy, tasting of 100 years of Memphis beef. When dyers moved locations, they reportedly transported the precious grease under police escort. It is a burger you cannot make at home and cannot get anywhere else, a piece of living history you can eat. In a country that throws out its fryer oil every night, a burger fried in grease older than your grandparents is a small, greasy miracle. Number 6. The loose meat sandwich. Up in Sioux City, Iowa in 1924, and again with a made-right chain that spread across the state, Iowans decided the patty was optional. The loose meat sandwich, also called a tavern, is seasoned ground beef cooked loose, crumbled and steamed rather than pressed into a patty, then piled onto a soft bun with mustard, pickle, and onion. It falls apart as you eat it, spilling down onto the wax paper, and you chase the last of it with a spoon. It was cheaper and easier than forming patties. It stretched the beef further, and it fed working Iowa for generations. This is a burger with no burger in it, just the honest flavor of seasoned beef. And to people who grew up in Iowa, it is pure childhood, the taste of small-town cafes and church basements and Friday nights. The rest of the country, raised to believe a burger must be a patty, mostly does not know it exists. Iowa knows. Iowa never forgot. Number 5. The steak burger. In Normal, Illinois, in 1934, a man named Gus Belt opened Steak and Shake with a radical idea and a slogan to match. In sight, it must be right. He ground fresh cuts of steak, chucks and rounds, right where customers could see it, then smashed the patties thin on a hot griddle so the edges caramelized into a crisp, beefy lace. He called it the steak burger, and the whole point was trust. In an era when people were rightly suspicious of what went into cheap ground beef, Belt showed you the meat before he ground it. The steak burger was the burger for people who wanted a hamburger to taste like actual steak, and it built an empire out of the Midwest on that promise. The smashed steak burger technique, thin patty, screaming griddle, crispy edges, is exactly what half the trendy burger joints in America rediscovered decades later and acted like they invented. Gus Belt was doing it in 1934, in plain sight, because that was the whole idea. Number 4. The slider. In Wichita, Kansas, in 1921, a cook named Walt Anderson and an insurance man named Billy Ingram opened White Castle and changed America, for better and for worse. Their burger was small and square, a thin patty steam grilled over a bed of onions on a little bun, sold 5 for a nickel. But the real invention was trust. Just 15 years after the jungle had turned America's stomach against ground beef, White Castle built gleaming white porcelain buildings, ground the meat in full view, and convinced a nervous public that a hamburger was clean, safe, and respectable. It worked. Those little steam-grilled sliders became the first true fast food chain, the blueprint every Golden Arch and Flame Broiler would later copy. And here is the bitter irony for a list like this one. The burger that saved the hamburger's reputation was also the first crack in the door. The standardized, identical, coast-to-coast burger that would eventually help bury all the regional ones. It started as a savior. It ended as the template. Number 3. The 5 and dime lunch counter burger. Before the drive-thru, the hamburger of everyday America lived at the back of the dime store. At the lunch counters of Woolworths and Kress and Kresge, on a chrome stool under a paper menu, you could get a griddled hamburger. a cup of coffee, and a slice of pie for pocket change. The cook worked a flat top 3 feet from your face, smashing patties, toasting buns, calling orders down the line. This was the burger of Main Street, of shopping trips and first dates and Saturday afternoons downtown in every town in the country. It was nothing fancy, a plain griddled patty with mustard and onion, but it was woven into the fabric of American life so completely that nobody thought to write it down. When the dime stores died and the malls and drive-thrus rose, those counters went dark one by one, and the everyday Main Street hamburger, the one millions of Americans actually grew up eating, slipped away almost without anyone noticing it was gone. Number 2, the County Fair hamburger. Go back to where it all started, and you land in the summer of 1885 at the fairgrounds. In Seymour, Wisconsin, a 15-year-old named Charlie Nagreen was selling meatballs at the county fair, and nobody was buying because you cannot walk the midway holding a meatball. So he flattened it, slapped it between 2 slices of bread, and called it a hamburger. And legend says he came back to that fair for the next 65 years selling them. That same summer, 800 miles east in Hamburg, New York, 2 brothers named Frank and Charles Menches ran out of pork sausage at the Erie County Fair, swapped in ground beef, and named the sandwich after the town they were standing in. Fairground food born from hungry crowds who needed to eat on their feet. Both towns still claim the crown. Both throw festivals, and both are probably a little bit right. The hamburger did not come from a boardroom. It came from a fair, from a kid and 2 brothers trying to make a sale. Number 1, the original hamburger. In New Haven, Connecticut in 1900, a man named Louis Lassen ran a little lunch wagon, and the story goes that a customer rushed in needing something he could eat on the run. Lassen took the trimmings of the ground steak he used for his sandwiches, broiled the beef, laid it between 2 slices of toast, and handed over what the Library of Congress would one day officially recognize as the first hamburger served in America. That wagon became Louis's lunch, and it is still open, still run by the Lassen family, still cooking burgers in the original upright cast iron gas broilers from the 1890s. The meat standing vertical, so the fat drips away. They serve it on toast with cheese, tomato, or onion, and they will not put ketchup on it, and they never have. Every burger on this entire list, every slug burger and butter burger and Juicy Lucy, every fair patty and dime store special, traces back to a simple idea somebody had at a lunch counter more than a century ago. Beef, bread, and a hungry person in a hurry. That is where all of it began. That is the burger worth remembering most. Here is my challenge. Find one of these near you and go eat it. The onion burger, the butter burger, the slaw burger, the loco moco. Order the regional one instead of the one you can get anywhere. Then come back and tell me in the comments which forgotten burger your town still makes, because somewhere out there, a diner is keeping one of these alive, and I want to know its name before it is gone.